Bob, thanks so much for being with us today. It's great to see you.
Great to see you.
So what do you make of this lawsuit against Snapchat alleging it was used to make purchases of the drug fentanyl, which resulted in 60 deaths of young people?
I don't think much of the lawsuit, to be honest with you. I mean, every bit of technology that we have, we know this as a former prosecutor, I used to say this all the time, is great in some regards and then can be used illegally in other regards. So you can't blame a company that creates a feature that these messages disappear could be for all sorts of reasons. In fact, most of the people don't use it for anything that's illicit. They do it to protect their privacy, protect the messages, whatever reason. You know, we have to have some responsibility in the idea that any technology can be used badly and that the user of the technology bears responsibility for how it's used. Don't get me wrong. I feel horrible for these people. This fentanyl crisis is out of control. I work every single day with people who are mentally ill and or addicted, and especially to this drug. It's a terrible thing, but I don't think we can start blaming companies like in this instance for something that is used otherwise lawfully by most people. And unfortunately, the bad guys, those are the drug dealers, have found a way to utilize it for purposes of pushing their poison to the public.
Yeah, I hear you. That makes sense. Now, another case, the trans state representative Zoe Zephyr was barred from entering the state house floor recently, but now Zoe is suing, alleging it was unconstitutional. What can you tell us about this case?
Well, the court is rejecting it so far, and the court has basically said, and I kind of don't get this logic, that we have no ability, I get it, there's separation of powers in the judicial branch to define what can be done in the legislative branch. So I would imagine that this case is going to go even further through the court system, even though so far it's been unsuccessful. You know, listen, again, this is not a left issue or a right issue. I have to just say, I'm just becoming very concerned that we have gotten to a point that if you don't like an elected representative's speech, whether they be a Democrat, a Republican, or independent, that the majority party can simply just say, you know what, you're violating House decorum in the manner in which you're freely expressing yourself, and we're going to disenfranchise you and the people who voted you into office. I think this is a very slippery slope that we're entering into here. And, you know, they always say, be careful what you ask for, because when it happens to one side, invariably, it's going to happen to the other side as well. This is not good practice. It's not good for democracy.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, over in Hollywood, the singer Ed Sheeran is being sued by the heirs of Marvin Gaye, alleging Sheeran's hit Thinking Out Loud copied significant portions of Let's Get It On without permission or credit. Do we know if they can prove this was copyright infringement yet?
You know, this is a really interesting question. We had a huge debate about this in my office the other day, where, and I have not listened to it. So, I mean, I did listen to it, and it doesn't sound the same to me, but there were a number of people. So our jury of the Bianchi Law Group looked at it and said, you know, after we were listening to it like 4 or 5, 6, 7 times, we started to see the similarity that's being referred to here. So I guess beauty, as it were, is going to be in the ear of the beholder, of the juror, in terms of, you know, what they're going to find here. But it really is kind of fascinating how it's kind of like one of those puzzles. It's one of those tricks. You look at it and they're like, do you see it yet? And you're like, I don't see the image. And then all of a sudden you're like, now I see it. Whether or not it prevails or not in court, who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you look hard enough, or listen hard enough, rather, I think you can find similarities in any song. It seems at this point everything is a remake of something else, but here we are. Now, Netflix may be in trouble. They're being sued by the family of a man who was killed by a hitchhiker who was featured in the documentary series Dark Tourist. Now, the family claims it was negligent to feature the hitchhiker, do you think there are potential challenges that the plaintiffs may face in this case, and what are the key legal arguments that Netflix may have here?
Well, the key legal argument by the plaintiff is that his image and likeness was used and manipulated, and then he started getting all these negative repercussions from it. People saying, hey, what the heck? I mean, you're in this Netflix series. So I think it's a little problematic to me in that regard, although Netflix is probably going to say that we don't need permission or approval to do it. It was put out into the public, and since you put it out into the public, you know, we were allowed to use the image. Although I have to say, that to me is a wobbly argument for a company as big as them, who have a team of lawyers, I'm sure.
For all our viewers asking where One America News is heading in the future, we would like to introduce you to OAN Live. OAN Live is the best way to stay up to date on all of the hard-hitting, straight-shooting, national and international headlines. And the best part is, OAN Live is only $4.99 per month. All the credible, honest, unbiased reporting One America News offers at a fraction of the cost of cable. Just go to OANN.com to easily sign up for OAN Live and stay informed.